anything's possible.
If you try and be patient, it pays off while you're waiting. The seeds you water will grow, the rest will follow. Cause this life's what you make it, and some rules are for breaking. Destiny will play its role, you know. What's meant to be will be, even when it's not easy. Live your life free, no boundaries, even when it's not easy. If you give love, you get love. If you give up, you get nothing. Can't you see? If you just believe anything's possible, don't rush too much. When it gets rough, get tough, sing with me. Through everything, anything is possible. Doesn't always make sense why some things gotta happen. Fight through the rain, cause you know the sun will follow. If you practice persistence, somebody's gonna witness. You're working hard and it shows, you know. What's meant to be will be, even when it's not easy. Live your life free, no boundaries, even when it's not easy. If you give love, you get love. If you give up, you get nothing. Can't you see? If you just believe anything's possible, don't rush too much. When it gets rough, get tough, sing with me. Through everything, anything is possible. Are you ready to go? I've waited for a long time. I must be out of my mind. Now I'm ready for this to start. When the lights go out, it's so dark. When the moment comes, we'll find the path. Are you ready to go? Are you ready to go? Are you ready to go?
Thank you, everybody, for joining us for the first of two Great Lakes Sailing Adventure webinars this year. I want to take a quick moment to talk about some housekeeping things. This is a webinar format, so if you haven't been a part of that with us before, you guys are all muted right now and you will not be able to speak during the presentation. However, if you would like to reach out to us and ask some questions or make a comment, you've got a chat feature down near the bottom of your screen, so please reach out to us that way. We're going to be hearing from a number of the members of the Retriever team tonight. I want to take a moment to just kind of introduce who's on the line with us. We've got Dave Rowe, who is the chairman of the Great Lakes Sailing Adventure Committee, as well as some of our captains, Mike Foster, Mike Harrington, and Wayne Hastings, as well as Bob Paulus, I believe, is on the line with us. We've got Chris Hopkins helping us with the background audio-visual, as well as David Couts, who will be helping to answer some of your questions. Then later on, we'll hear from the Outdoor Adventures Director, Sean Henneman. So without any further ado, we're going to watch a quick video and get rolling.
Hello, everyone. This is Dave Rowe. Like to address Retriever, which is the backbone of our Great Lakes Sailing Adventure. And just a little background on Retriever. She's an Alden 52. Again, with the back, as I mentioned, the backbone of the program, we're training youth fundamentals of sailing, including which includes sail trim, helmsmanship, navigation, marine safety, and skills, and living aboard an offshore yacht or offshore sailboat. Again, and a little bit about Retriever. She's an incredible boat. This boat actually won the 1995 or strike that 2005 and 2003 Chicago Mackinac race, first overall and first intersection. Again, she's an incredible boat. She's crossed the Atlantic twice. It was built by Palmer Johnson it's aluminum construction, so she's an incredibly strong vessel. The boat has been retrofitted to sleep 14 and again comfortably with so again it's going to be able to give everyone an opportunity to learn the fundamentals of sailing above the deck and below deck as well. So as to where we're going to be going, we're going to introduce here Mike Harrington as well. Mike?
You can see on the map in front of you and stuff that we have a number of ports. We sail primarily in northern Lake Michigan and Lake Huron. We work with the troops and the leaders to plan ahead of time where we'll go on a trip, but then Mother Nature sometimes changes that, which means that because of the wind and waves, it's better to go for one or the other of lakes. And with that in mind, we start off at the home port, which is in Mackinac City in the Straits Harbor, and that's where the boat will leave and we'll come back to. And just as a side, you'll like the time when it's free because they got really nice ice cream stores there. Okay. Again, you'll see here on that's highlighting. These are some of the areas that we go to. We go. Everybody seems to. All of the trips include a trip to Mackinac Island, and if you haven't been there or you don't know what it's about, it's an island that has no cars. Everybody goes around on bicycles and horseback. Sometimes we go into northern Lake Huron, and when we do that, we go through starting where Government Bay is, and that area is the Les Chenaux Islands. It's a really unique place, and there are a lot of homes as you go through the various islands. The Les Chenaux Islands are they're like a movie scene, and it's just really fascinating thing to see. And if we go there, then we're likely to end up in the port of Detour. Detours are another interesting, very interesting place. It's the beginning of the way in which boats go up into the Soo Locks, and so Detour is a really nice port to see. If we do, all of the trips will end up with a time on St. Helena Island, and St. Helena Island has a very nice lighthouse. We do some time there where we do some projects for the people. You get a service time for that, and there part of the program always includes a bonfire, and it's ranks very highly on the reports that we get back when we do get information from kids at the end of their trips. Okay. We can go to the next.
All right, Bob's having a hard time getting in, so I'm gonna take this slide from him, but we'll hopefully be able to get him in later. One of the key one of the features of Retriever is take scouts with no sailing experience, and we give them the opportunity to learn how to sail the boat. As Dave mentioned earlier, Retriever is really a fantastic, very unique vessel, and it's a great opportunity for learning. There's plenty, you know, it's just an amazing boat to learn how to sail on. So we take the scouts throughout the course of the week, and we give them different lessons in sail trim and helmsmanship, navigation, the works. And the goal is by the end of the week, we get them up to being competent and confident sailors aboard Retriever, and they'll get to steer the boat and everything. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Hopefully we'll have Bob on to speak with us on that. And from here, we'll go to the next slide, Chris.
Well, just a moment. Before you do that, I would like to emphasize that we have scouts who've never been on a boat before. They get on, and by the time the week is over, they do know how to sail, and they've had a wonderful experience. And so if you've never been on a boat or all of this looks intimidating, don't let it. You'll have a wonderful time.
Mike, you want to keep talking about the different ports in Lake Michigan and Lake Huron?
Well, relative to where we can go with Retriever, as Captain Mike just said, it's a function of where the wind is coming from. We look at the wind and the weather, and then develop a tentative itinerary relative to where we're going to go and the ports that we're going to visit and call on, you know, through the course of the week. Lake Michigan are just a number of great spots to pull into: Charlevoix, Petoskey, Traverse City, and so on. And again, which you can learn more about in detail as well off the website too. So, but relative to Lake Michigan ports. And then also based upon the winds coming out of the west, we have a chance to visit a number of Lake Huron ports, which we looked at a chart just a few minutes ago. So the next slide is, of course, home port is Mackinac City, we depart from. And then Hessel, which is part of the Les Cheneaux Islands, which is a group of 36 islands in the group rather. And it's like going back in time to visit Hessel, Cedarville, and a number of islands throughout the Les Cheneaux Islands. Of course, Mackinac Island, Detour Village, Boblo Island, and so on. So again, there's a number of great ports, and again, which is part of the learning experience of sailing throughout the Northern Great Lakes as well. So at this point, we'd like to look at a video here for our next slide.
We're doing the Great Lakes Sailing Adventure with our whole group for the very long weekend over the Labor Day weekend. My favorite part so far has been just being able to steer the boat and play with the winches around the boat.
We've been sailing on Lake Michigan and Lake Huron and the Straits of Mackinac. We've been raising and lowering the mainsail, rolling out the jib, tightening the tension and releasing some line.
With Boy Scouts, I can go out into the wilderness, experience nature and not just a concrete jungle. And like with this trip, you know, experience the lake. So yeah, it's been a really new experience for me.
All right, guys, one of the things that your scouts will really enjoy is learning about life aboard Retriever and life on an offshore vessel. Here to talk a little bit more about the duty roster and how we kind of split up working around the boat. I'm going to throw it over to Wayne Hastings if he's online and ready. Wayne?
Okay, we got pictures here. They're taken below deck on the Retriever, and you can see it's truly a beautiful boat. But it's also a rather small area for 14 people to live in, so we have to keep it neat and organized. Our galley is down there, our bunks are down there, and then we got a couple of pictures aboard, or one aboard. One is the thing that very few people get to do, and that's sail under the Mackinac Bridge. And the one picture shows that about to happen on the Retriever. The other picture in the lower right shows part of our safety precautions. We have wetsuits that we all learned to try on in case we had an inclement weather or something happened that was totally unforeseen. We would be safe in the environment with these wetsuits and life jackets and that sort of thing. And so we know how to use them. We put them on and take them off as part of our get ready to go out to sea when we show up at Mackinac City at the start of the trip. Okay, next one. Now, learning to sail is something that we teach on the boat Retriever. There are very few vessels, however, that are licensed by the Coast Guard as school ships on the Great Lakes, and the Retriever is one of them. We have periodic training sessions with the scouts, and it's way more than learning to sail. This boat is, as Dave mentioned earlier, 52 feet long, and it's bigger than one person can sail. Everybody has to work as a team. We have two teams, one above the deck and one below the deck. And everybody's a participant. There are no passengers on the boat. The staff is very experienced, and they'll keep us out of trouble, but they rely on the scouts and their leaders to sail the boat. Okay? Next slide. Now, we have a lot of experience with this, so we have a methodology we use to get us through it. We have a topside crew and a below deck crew, and we alternate crews. And all of the people who sign up for the Lake Sailing Adventure will be on one crew, and it rotates between above deck and below deck. And it's not like camping in a tent. We're camping all together. Maybe it's more like a small cottage. Okay, next slide. Now, as we go on this adventure, we have to eat. And the scouts prepare the food with the guidance of their leaders. And it starts by the scouts determining the menu. We have staff help available at Cole Canoe Base. And we have dry storage and limited refrigeration. We're interested in having simple meals in the morning and lunch. Lunch is always underway, and are trying to have a hot meal at the evening. Many of the ports have a place, as you can see in the picture, where we can cook outside. That's more comfortable because on a warm day, it gets kind of hot in Retriever's galley. But there are some stores available, and we'll work with you on the details later. But the unit will bring their own food, and they'll be sure they can cover the special needs of any of their participants. The two staff that are on the boat are have tough constitutions, and they're happy to eat anything the scouts prepare. Okay, next slide. Now the sleeping accommodations are on the boat. We don't set up tents ashore. There's 14 bunks below, and so there's 14 people. 12 come as participants, adults and youth, and 2 staff. And we are prepared to follow the youth protection guidelines, and we're also prepared to deal with co-ed crews. However, if you do have a co-ed crew, we'd like to have you work out the details with the captain prior to coming up to Mackinac City. So we've got everything set up to do the youth protection thing the right way below deck for sleeping. Next slide. And now I turn it over to Bob Paulus. Are you on now?
Bob was not able to jump on, but I can take this one if you'd like, Wayne.
Okay.
So once, real quick, there is a question in the chat about nights offshore where we're not in a port and we're anchored. This is actually a picture of St. Helena Island, which is one of those ports where we will anchor offshore and take a smaller boat into the island. So it will really depend on your itinerary. Every trip's a little bit different, but this just happens to be one of those. While you're on shore and you're in different ports, there's all sorts of exciting and fun things to do. This picture, as I said, is with St. Helena Island, where scouts have opportunities to go hiking or do service and conservation projects. There's a historic lighthouse and all sorts of fun nature preserve type activities to do at St. Helena. Most groups will go to Mackinac Island, where you can check out different historic sites and maybe do a little bit of tourist things on Mackinac Island, as well as all the other ports. Every port has something unique to offer, so it'll depend a little bit on your trip. And if you guys join us, your captains will be able to tell you kind of the ins and outs of different ports that we hope to go to. For the next slide, please, Chris. Now we're going to go a little bit more into the administrative side of the operation. For units interested in joining us on Retriever, we do still have a couple opportunities left for the 2021 sailing season, but we're really starting to look into 2022. To book Retriever for a week costs $7,500. Now with Retriever, as opposed to a lot of other camping opportunities, you're actually registering by the boat and not by the participant. So if you are able to fill your crew with 10 youth and 2 adults, you split $7,500 between them. Unfortunately, if you're only able to get 8 youth, it's still $7,500, and that's just kind of the way that it's set up. The Labor Day weekend voyage, which happens over Labor Day weekend, is about half the price of that at $37,500. And that is actually tentatively still open for the 2021 season. However, we think it's going to fill up fast. So if you're interested on that, move quick. As we said, we're accommodating 12 participants. You have to have a minimum of 2 adults. Most groups do 10 youth and 2 adults. Participants need to be at least 13 years of age. And one of the more unique things about Retriever, because we're a school ship, the Coast Guard requires that we have 2 adults from each group that need to submit to a drug screening program. We'll talk a lot more about that once we get closer to your trip, but we will sign you up through the council and get you registered for that program. And again, that is a U.S. Coast Guard requirement. That is not one of our rules. Beyond that, all your normal scout camp rules apply, youth protection. In the state of Michigan, we've got central registry clearance, and all those other things still apply, obviously, on Retriever, which is essentially a floating Boy Scout camp. Next slide, please, Chris. All right, if you've been on other camping webinars this year, you're certainly familiar with this statement. This is our commitment to you. This is our customer service policy in the Michigan Crossroads Council and with Retriever. We are dedicated to providing you guys with a legendary scouting experience while participating in our life-changing programs. We're committed to providing facilities and programs with services and leadership that will consistently exceed the expectations of our guests and our customers. Our Michigan scouting camps will be safe havens for experiencing the best of the outdoors values of the Boy Scouts of America. And this is something that we really take to heart, and we look forward to providing you guys with the absolute best possible experience that we can. For the next slide, I'm going to invite Sean Henneman to chime in if he'd like to speak on anything. Sean is the Chief Program Officer for the Michigan Crossroads Council. He is my boss, and Sean, take it away.
Thank you very much. We have an incredible experienced team, as you would expect for any kind of high adventure outing like this. You would expect experience, and you can't find any more experience. I just want to reiterate, and I think many of you have been on our other camp webinars as well, you know, the incredible programs that we offer in the state of Michigan. You really are not going to find those programs throughout the United States, and we are committed to just first-rate, legendary scout camp experience. Our goal is to obtain a 95% overall experience rating from summer camp participants. I think it's important to note that we get those surveys back on the last day of camp, and any kind of adjustments we need to make, we make those before the next group comes in, or if it's during the week and you bring it up to us, we'll make those changes during the week. We have high expectations of our staff. Of course, here on our seasoned crew, I don't think we need to really instill that in them and train it. It's already there, but for some of our younger staff members at other camps, they always demonstrate the Scout Oath and Law, Scout and leader, they're customer focused and respectful of everybody around them. I just think, you know, whenever you go to a Michigan Crossroad Council camp, our staff, our volunteers, you'll be surrounded by role models. And what are our key focus areas? Obviously, quality staff, food, innovative programming, and I don't think you can get any more innovative than our retriever program. Great facilities that if you participate in the State of the Council this Thursday, you'll see some of the great improvements we've made to our programs and our facilities. And leader engagement. You know, programs like this, we want to hear from you. You know, we make adjustments every year based on your feedback. I know it is a cliche oftentimes to say once in a lifetime experience, but this retriever program is truly a once in a lifetime experience. And if you take 12 participants and you do the math, you know, that is just an incredible, incredible price for a week long of sailing experience. I know I just sent my daughters to band camp 2 years ago, and boy, I don't think it was this kind of experience, but I know one thing, we paid a lot more. We do have opportunities, fundraising opportunities that can help support you and your scouts on a trip like this. So stay tuned. You know, we have an incredible hike-a-thon event coming up. So there's many ways that you can do fundraisers from now, whether you can squeeze in here in the last few spots in 2020, or if you're looking at experience in 2021. But this is truly not a cliche. It is a once in a lifetime incredible experience. I gotta imagine a lot of our scouts that went through this program it's probably have taken off and gotten a lifetime interest in sailing. So I just want to thank Greg, our High Adventure Director, Greg Zidane, and then the incredible volunteers who have just committed themselves to this program year in and year out. So thanks for attending. Please, if you're interested in this program, I know we've been adjusted by COVID a little bit, but this program fills up quick. And if you're interested in your troops or in participating, your troop ought to, I think, commit fairly soon for the years to come. So one last thing I want to hit on COVID. Many of you and a lot of the webinars have asked about COVID. Obviously, this will be a little different in how we approach it than our regular summer camp programs, but we are meeting daily with the state of Michigan, with our National Boy Scouts of America, and we will be able to offer this trip without lessening the experience and also adjusting to COVID guidelines. So, Greg, I think I talked too much, so let me hand it back to you. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Sean. Chris, if you want to click over to the next slide, there's been some questions that have come across the panel that I'm going to try to answer out loud here. There's been some questions about swimming and swimmer's tests. If you're looking to take a swim check, you can reach out to us or the State Aquatics Committee for guidance on that. And there's also information on michiganscouting.org. But there are a lot of opportunities around the state for pre-camp swim checks, and it'll depend a little bit on where you're located. We also have opportunities to do swim checks at Cole Canoe Base, which, unless you're coming from the north, is probably on your way to Retriever. If you're coming up that way, we actually invite you guys to stay at Cole on Saturday night and make your drive a little bit shorter. But if you're looking to take a swim check, we can help you out with that here at Cole as well. Unfortunately, there are not a lot of opportunities to go swimming during the trip. So the mile swim that somebody asked for, unfortunately, is probably not going to happen. And that is because the DNR restricts swimming at most ports because it's a safety concern when you've got boats going around and you might have electrical lines hanging off of boats, and it's just that's a safety policy within the DNR. There's a question about provisional opportunities. We are not running any provisional trips on Retriever right now. However, we're hoping to in the future, so stay tuned. Right now, it's just unit signups. That being said, some units do occasionally have spots that they are looking to fill. Maybe they can only get 8 youth and they've got a couple spots they're looking to do some cost sharing. But we tend to encourage you guys to reach out to the units for that. So if you have one scout looking for a provisional opportunity, if you get in touch with me, I will put their name on the list and I will try to get them in contact with somebody as those opportunities become available. Before we go to the next slide, I want to draw attention to our next webinar, which will be Monday, May 10th at 7 o'clock. That will be geared a little bit more towards the details and the nitty-gritty stuff about the program. That is where we'll cover a lot more stuff pertaining to COVID, as well as planning for your unit's specific trip. Chris, if you'd like to switch to the next slide, my contact information is listed on the upper left portion of your screen. You can always feel free to reach out to me if you'd like more information or have more questions. And if so, I can get you in touch with different members of the committee or some of our captains. We're also on Facebook, and we can be found on michiganscouting.org. The Leader's Guide is available on michiganscouting.org under the Great Lakes Sailing Adventure page. There is a lot of very good information there. And in the next few days, a recording of this webinar will also be posted on that page. Lastly, if you guys Google Boys Life Magazine, April 2018, we are not only on the cover, but we've got like a 6-page article right in the middle. More very good information about the fun programmatic side of what we are doing. That being said, we're opening up to questions in the chat feature, so I'm going to try to address things as I see them, and if any of the other panelists want to jump in and speak to any specific questions, you're more than welcome to. Rich, yes, we could do 6 and 6. It would depend. We would have to set up some partitioning, but we have a lot of flexibility in the ratios, as it were. But each group, depending on their youth to adult ratio, sleeping accommodations might change a little bit. So reach out to us for specifics on that, and we'll be happy to help you out. But we're able to accommodate just about anything if we know it's coming in advance. The Retriever sailing season begins June 13th and runs through Labor Day. Trips begin on Sunday and wrap up on Friday afternoon.
I would like to chime in just before we get into the question and answer. I'm Mike Harrington, one of the captains, and I reached out to several of the scouts that have been on trips with me, and they all talk about what a really wonderful experience it is. They talk about how they got to interact with each other and to learn things about sailing in the Great Lakes that they never imagined possible. I spent my whole life working with students as an educator, and I can tell you that from my own personal testimony, this is one of the best programs you're ever going to find.
Thank you, Mike. I forgot to mention food. To the couple questions about food, you guys will be planning and executing your own meals. Food is not included as part of the program, so you'll bring in what you've bring in your own food and plan and cook it on board Retriever. If you'd like help with that process, you can reach out to me, and our food service staff at Cole Canoe Base has some very good people and resources available to help you with that process.
Greg, we had a question. This is Dave Rowe. We had a question relative to the history of Retriever. And again, if you'd like, we can share some background on this beautiful boat. It's, again, once you get close to the boat, you'll see how gorgeous she is, and a strong boat. And as we mentioned, that she is so versatile. She has won the Chicago Mackinac race, which is, there are 350 boats in that race, and she came in first overall, and yet she's able to cruise and sail with 14 on board. So again, it's really a perfect boat for our application here too. And again, as far as recruiting additional scouts to participate, we can send and share information with you on the history of Retriever too. So I think all you have to do is contact Greg directly.
Absolutely. Thanks for covering that, Dave. I see questions about
I'd like to cover the question about the sailing merit badge.
Yeah. Take it away, Wayne.
The sailing merit badge is always helpful because you learn things, but more than how to sail, the nomenclature of what things are called on the boat would be helpful to learn. You can find a lot of that sort of thing in a Sea Scout manual on seascout.org website. And it's just the names of the things on the boat. What's port and starboard? What's rigging? What's mast and boom and stuff like that. So I'd encourage you to learn the nomenclature almost more than learning how to sail. The captain will teach you how to sail this particular boat, which is unique, and it's much bigger and more demanding than the smaller boats we use for sailing merit badge. Okay, Greg.
Thank you, Wayne. That's basically exactly what I was going to say. So you did a great job. To whoever asked if we cover the sailing merit badge aboard Retriever, we really don't. And the primary reason for that is it's built more around the rather than the requirements. But a lot of requirements for the small boat sailing merit badge are geared a lot more towards small boats. The one example that comes to mind is we can't capsize Retriever. At least we try not to. And I know that that's a requirement for the small boat sailing merit badge. So while we will cover a lot of the same content, it just wouldn't be practical for us to be able to guarantee the merit badge out of this program. Yes, no sailing after dark. I want to give a quick shout out to Tim Walls, who's joining us all the way from Arkansas. And that's pretty cool. I hope we can see you guys next summer, Wayne. Somebody did ask about planning for 2022. We are hoping to get registration open for 2022 just as soon as we fill up 2021. If you reach out directly, I can help you with that process. But once that goes live, it will be available on the michiganscouting.org. Um, any other questions jumping out? David, I know you've been monitoring this. Is there anything we've missed?
I think we've done a good job covering it.
One thing we did mention, and we haven't touched upon, but as we do have a leader's guide, which essentially shares with you virtually everything you need to know as from a planning standpoint, which is on the Mission Crossroads Council website as well. So if you just want to pull up, actually, we now call it the planning guide. And also the fact that we do have crew training too, which does include nomenclature and sailing terms and so on. So you will have an opportunity to learn those and as part of our crew training process.
I want to follow up on that. As soon as the troop has signed up and has a slot, the captains work directly with the scout leaders and individually with the scouts. We have a training manual. We go through all of those things, and we help you learn an awful lot before you ever get to the boat.
Thank you, guys. I want to answer Graham's question to the whole group. Graham is asking about scouts and parents who are susceptible to seasickness, and maybe one of our captains can go into a little bit more detail, but what I would say is there are a number of over-the-counter products that supposedly help with that, and I would recommend speaking to your captain about that once they reach out to you and they get assigned. But if anybody on the call would like to speak to that in more detail, I'll open it up.
Ginger tablets have worked great for my family.
In a general way, I would say if you're inclined for motion sickness, you should probably talk to your doctor or go to the over-counter and have a motion sickness pill. You can also do some things to sort of not get your stomach too empty or too spicy foods at lunch. But there's only two kinds of people: those who have been seasick and those who lie about not being seasick.
You know,
well, we had, this is Mike Foster. We had a crew that brought on ginger. They brought it on it in food form and in candy form, and that worked great. We had no one get seasick on ginger that year.
Awesome. Thank you very much, guys. We're still opening it up for questions if anybody is looking to do that. Mary Holiday is sending a video about weather. I am going to copy and paste this into the chat for everybody to see. I have not watched this video, but I'm told it is a good resource for weather stuff. So I'm going to send that your way. And that's from Mary. Thank you, Mary. Graham is asking about deck shoes. I'm going to throw that over to one of our captains, but generally speaking, you shouldn't have to buy special shoes, something non-marking, but I'm going to throw that over to one of our captains.
Yeah, as far as shoes are concerned, we do not allow flip-flops, those kinds of things, or bare feet on deck. Anything that will grip and hold, especially if there's a little moisture on the deck, is fine. And then one other thing, back to seasickness and some other things. All of us are experienced sailors. We know when someone, if they are going to get a little sick, the whole crew and all of the scouts know that that's just a time for them to go lay down if they need to, sit on the deck and look at the horizon, but we don't ever make fun of anyone. And it's one more example, if we're in rough weather, everybody pulls together.
That's good, Mike. And also one more, going back to the deck shoe question, no open-toed shoes.
Right.
Again, you mentioned flip-flops, but again, everything has to be closed in a soft sole, and preferably not a black sole as well. So, but a soft-soled shoe would work. But again, no need to go out and buy special deck shoes. If you have them, great, but it's not mandatory that they be specified deck shoes. Soft-soled shoes will work with good support, because you can be running around on a deck that's under motion, underway, and so you're going to need good support as well underway.
Thanks, guys. We've got somebody asking specifically about Crocs. Anybody have a thought on that?
The 2 years I was on, we did not allow Crocs because they don't have, they don't
They're
don't
pulled,
seem to
they're
work very
open
well.
heel.
They were falling out of them.
Yeah, I think I would certainly echo that too, because again, you need some good support, particularly while the boat is bouncing underway.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. So no Crocs. Graham's asking, Retriever has an 80-foot main mast, and I know she's capable of about 18 knots or so, but guys, how fast do we typically sail?
Well, generally around 6, 7, 8 knots is probably maxed out as well. So, but depending on the wind and the air, of course, but 8 knots is fast. And
Awesome.
It'll be very exhilarating at 8.
If Mary's asking about PFDs and fall weather gear, if you own it, you're certainly welcome to bring it along. One of our captains will have to kind of give it a visual and certify any personal gear. However, it's not necessary. We do provide PFDs for everybody on board that are, meet the Coast Guard standard. In terms of specific fall weather gear, I would recommend bringing like a rain suit if you guys have them. But if there's any serious weather related issues, we've got the equipment on board, but if you have it, you're welcome to bring it along. I believe
Greg, before we leave that about PFDs,
right.
Frankly, we will urge you not to bring PFDs. We have what's called Type 1s, which are life jackets, and the Type 1 life jackets are, a commercial grade life jacket, which keeps if one does happen to go in the water, it keeps their head up. But we do, in the last 2 years, require our participants to wear an inflatable as well. So, and we have, essentially we assign an inflatable, which is CO2 inflated as well, which are small, and yet they're sometimes called suspenders, which goes around your neck as well. So, and they're small, relatively kept out of the way while under sailing. But we have one for everyone while they're on deck. So we will assign and provide life jackets for everyone as well. Essentially, there's 2 life jackets for everyone.
Right, and you are going to have limited amount of stuff that you can pack and bring on board, and the last thing you want is a bulky life jacket of any sort. We'll take care of that for you.
Thank you, guys. And we got a question. Jacqueline says, I do high school sail racing on Club 420s. Will I still learn new skills aboard? And I would say absolutely yes. Club 420 is a much smaller vessel. I believe it's a single mast, if I'm not mistaken. I'm gonna look to one of our captains to talk in more detail, but I would definitely say yes, you will absolutely learn new skills, no matter how experienced a sailor you are.
Well, I want to tell her congratulations on the skills that she's learned, and I think they're wonderful, and a number of them will certainly apply because sailboats all work the same way. This is just a little bit different, and some of the skills you definitely will learn are navigation skills that you don't use. The others are you're going to learn to deal with forces on the sails and things that you would never experience in a smaller boat. But hats off to you. When I teach sailing and everything else, the little sunfish, the people that learn on that are my best students when I get on a big boat.
I would
And-
say
and-
the other thing about a big boat is their winches, because the lines have too much load on them to pull anything by hand.
Sure.
That's one terrific difference. The other big difference is the teamwork required when you have a number of people on the crew is different than the teamwork required for a crew on a smaller boat. So there's leadership opportunities as well as some sailing skills that are unique to a big boat and unique to a small boat. And you learn both by sailing on both kinds of boats.
Yeah.
Well said.
And there's one more area too, that those are all well put. And there's one more area too, is safety at sea. You know, so again, besides working as a team, we'll be going through safety drills, particularly a man overboard drill. We do that every day on board. And how to work as a team in executing a man overboard drill. Also,
Fantastic, guys. Dave, Josh has a scout who is 7 feet tall.
good for him.
I would say watch your head below deck, but the real question is, will our gear fit?
Our gear will fit. We'll have an immersion suit that should fit because we have some adult size immersion suits. And the issue is, you know, probably sleeping in one of the bunks, but we could certainly do that. That shouldn't be a problem. And if worst case, you can always sleep on the deck.
Hope it doesn't rain, but yes.
Yeah. Well, many kids prefer to sleep on the deck, frankly.
Graham is asking for more adventurous and more experienced sailors. What is the most time you would recommend per day, and what is a typical time limit recommended for crews to be under sail?
Well, the captains are required to spend no more than 12 hours a day, and our normal planning from port to port, looking at the weather, is 7-8 hours.
Yeah.
There will be some shorter days in there as well. I know Mackinac
Yeah.
Island to Mackinac City is like a 30-minute sail.
Yeah.
But we'll be doing some drills on the way. If it is a 6 or 8 or 10 miles sail, we still will be doing some tacking and jibing drills too through the process.
We definitely do. And every scout that gets on board will go from station to station and will learn everything. And a great deal of what we do is practicing, because everybody will have an opportunity to do the major operations of sailing a boat. When you leave, you will have a checklist that says you worked the winches, that you were able to keep the boat on course, that you were able to raise and lower sails. All of the major things that you're going to learn to sail a boat, every sailor will be checked off, and we take time to make sure you learn them.
Thank you, Mike. I'm looking at the clock. It is about 7:52. So I know a few people probably have something coming up at 8 or they want to hop off. So we're going to hang on the line and continue to answer questions as they come in. And everyone is certainly welcome to stay with us until the very last minute. But for those of you that want to jump off, I want to thank you for giving us a little bit of your time this evening. And we do to see you guys very soon, if not this summer, maybe next summer. So thank you again for joining us, and have a fantastic rest of your evening. We're going to keep answering some questions while we're here. I see Graham is asking about inclement weather and what steps do we take to limit rough water exposure, and what do we do when the weather is really just not on our side.
Well, that's a really good question. Every day before you take off, one of the things that you'll do is check the weather, and we go to NOAA, and it's usually fairly accurate, but there are times when a storm just comes up that out of nowhere that wasn't something that was predicted, and we every captain is a fully licensed captain. We know how to handle the boat in rough weather, and we will just make arrangements so that the boat is safe and everybody on it is safe if we get into some really bad weather.
Thank you, Mike. Mary, captain assignments, we're working on that right now. Typically, we have that kind of figured out late February into March sometime. I would say we should definitely have that figured out by the end of March. We will sometimes answer Graham's question. We don't go up into Lake Superior. Unfortunately, we just don't have time to get there and back. We will sometimes tack up the St. Mary's a little bit. But typically, I would say we don't go much further north than Detour and
Lime Island.
name of that island off the top of my head.
Lime Island, yeah.
Lime Island.
Lime Island. So yes, we will sometimes get up into the St. Mary's, but unfortunately, we just don't make it up into Lake Superior. All right. Well, are there any additional questions, guys? Please feel free to put them in. We've got a captive audience with our captains here, which is a great opportunity. So. Well, I'm not seeing anything. We'll hang out for a minute in case somebody's typing. Just a reminder, a recording of this webinar will be made available in the next couple days and will be posted not only on Facebook, but also on michiganscouting.org on the Great Lakes Sailing Adventure page. So if you have scouts in your group or parents that weren't able to make it tonight and you want to share this with them, you will be able to send them a link or direct them to somewhere on YouTube. Chris will set all that up for us. Registration for 2020 is open right now, Steve. We do have a couple slots still open. Registration for 2022 will be opened as soon as we fill up 2021, or it'll be no later than June. When that does happen, we'll send out kind of a blast email. And also, we'll post it on our Facebook pages and michiganscouting.org. Retriever is owned by the Michigan Crossroads Council of the Boy Scouts. It was donated to us through some very generous individuals, including the foundation that actually helps to continue to keep Retriever afloat for us. And David, if you can drop that link into the main chat. David's dropping a link for the 2021 registration page for anybody that's looking for it.
No. We all want to.
No, I don't know anyone that wants to. Yeah. Yeah, they're death traps.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, Steve, 12 is the participation limit. The boat is accommodated for 14, but we have to have our captain and first mate. So 14 in total, typically 10 scouts and 2 adults.
Actually, we're certified for 16, but we sail with 14. But the Coast Guard tells us we can play with 16. We just don't have enough bunks.
You guys will find when you get down there, 14 people and is you get to know each other pretty well. Gives new meaning to social distance.
Yeah, it's a sailboat.
Could you have 3 scouts, leaders, and 9 scouts? That would be a difficult partition, Steve, but yes, I believe we could accommodate that.
We've done
we
it
have
before.
in the past done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a number of times.
All right, y'all. Well, I would encourage everybody to take a note of my email address and phone number if you have additional questions. I'm always happy to take some time to talk or email, text message, whatever works best for you. As it's getting on to 8 o'clock and it looks like the chat is slowing down, I think this is about time for us to sign off. So thank you again, everybody that's left, for joining us, and we hope to see you guys soon.